You walked away from 2 million.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And when I walked away, it was not by my choice anymore. He threw me, God just threw just cold water on my face because he was done with me. 3 years prior to my departure, the voice was very clear. God was very clear to say, it's time. Leave this place.
Yeah.
You've run your race. But when you now hear the voice to say it's time, you're like, "Kokonjani?" And at the time, my ex-husband is unemployed, of course. So I'm a breadwinner in the house. So there's a lot of confusion. I procrastinated for 3 years. I questioned so much. I was a bit confused. But then what? What am I supposed to do? You know how the devil works, and he will sometimes package this thing like it's God? Because in that period, when the voice said go, I was immediately moved from one division to head office. So at the time, I thought, oh,
Watching.
maybe this is what it means, that I'm done here and I need to move here. And I remember on the day of the interview, Ndando, literally as I stood by the door and I'm entering the interview, the voice of the Lord says, it's not your position. Literally as I'm standing by the door.
Welcome to another edition of Mindset Profits. We are back again, and as you know, if you are a follower of the channel, every Monday, every Thursday, we drop something special for you. And today we have another episode with a lovely woman that I respect so much. She leads the business community at our church. So, leadership. This is Mirriam. Welcome.
Treasure, hey?
Trusted, because you've built multiple businesses.
Yeah.
You've been trusted to lead us.
Yeah.
And today we get to get some mentorship from you over reflections on your journey, what it takes to build business, what it takes to build business and manage life, and what you've learned in the process along the way. I'm excited for this.
Okay, let's see. I'm not sure if I am. Pressure. You know, the more you do introduction, is like, ooh, okay, we're here.
Too much pressure. This is
Too much pressure, hey? Too much pressure. But hey, we trust the Lord, man. We trust the Lord.
Maybe in let's say 30 seconds, Nyana, let's give like context. What do your businesses do? And then we're gonna get into the masterclass.
Oh, no, certainly. Mirriam Tenyane is the name, as you've alluded to, the daughter of the Most High.
We start there. We start there.
We start there, you know. It's deliberate within as far as that is concerned. It almost says, tell them who I am, you know, before you can say anything, so that it's not your might, it's by my strength, you know. But, you know, just to getting to your question, from the business point of view, I'm the founder and the managing director of Harmony and Help Group. And an entity that is literally
like the group part.
Yeah, the group. But it's a journey. You know, I did not start there, by the way. It started as just Harmony and Help. And maybe that's a very nice context to rally behind your question. It started strictly as Harmony and Help.
Okay.
And may I also put a disclaimer as well. Even that in which I'm going to be explaining, it did not even start as a concept. At the time, under the pressure in having to realize I need to leave corporate. Time has arrived for me to leave corporate. And I needed to think of something. and I knew I was not going to go from one corporate to the other, given the years that I've spent. And I got these friends of mine whom we started together. And the concept at the time, still under the umbrella of Harmony and Help, I had wanted to be assisting corporate women in areas in which I myself have suffered for so long, being a corporate woman and having to climb the ladder so quick. And one of those sufferings was just the absence from my kids' activities, the absence from family gatherings, there was just so many absence.
How many years are we talking?
Corporate, 25 years to be precise, and 20 years from the one that I left, the last entity that I left. And I'm not shy. I'm not shy about it. Yeah, that's Transnet. I left it after 20 years, 1 month. Yeah,
I know.
It was expenditure. I was, you know, you can, when they counting assets, I'll probably be part of the
Mirriam is one.
Exactly. So at the time, in having to, and on hindsight, in having to realize how much years I've spent and the lost opportunities in the process, I wanted an entity in which I could be focusing on corporate women, that assistance where I've got a wedding to be attending on the weekend. I don't have time to go and fit for my dress. Harmony and Help would have then gone and make sure that we've got your sizes and we get to an outfit. Come Friday, your shoes are ready. The gift is ready for the Uber comes fetch you. The Uber Black comes fetch you the following day. It's not that, you don't have time. You've got money, but you're unable to do these things. So I was looking into, where you want to register in a university and you just don't have time to be registering. So we would have done that for you. Or your kid needs to be subscribing to something and you don't have time. So that was the concept of Harmony and Help. Hence the hands. So my icon is the logo is actually the two hands holding each other, because I wanted to be an extension of having gone through what I've gone through myself. But listen, the reality of officially having left corporate, the 1st of November, to be precise, 2021, had made me realize I cannot start something new at the age that I was at the time. So the spirit, the fear of the unknowns, the uncertainties crept in. And I remember again calling my partners at the time and said, maybe not the time. So let's go back to our core. And ultimately then it translated to Harmony and Help, still the name. Fortunately, it was still appropriate. But in this instance, I'm now focusing on safety, health, environment, quality, governance, risk, and compliance, which is fundamentally my core. I'm an environmentalist by profession, and I had subsequently just extended to other programs, given the thin line between those. And that's how then we landed back to what was core. Something that I knew if you had to wake me up every morning and say, do a risk assessment, I knew exactly what to do. So there was level of confidence. And fortunately, the name was still making sense. And the tagline is, let us help you to find harmony in a compliance space.
Do you reflect on how far you've come?
Sure. If there's even ever time, hey? I suppose it takes such moments such as these when someone is asking a question that you often would then pause, because sure, we never get to pause. I come very far, a humbling space as well. And let me again reflect on my former employer, Transnet. Transnet, I cannot speak of the Transnet that is known now, but now I know of the Transnet when I was so young and they saw the gift and the talent. Hardly 1 year, I was already allocated a mentor. And at the time, this was the general manager in operations. And I still remember and recall the email that landed on my email, and it was says, for your sins, I've been allocated to be your mentor. And I was so intimidated, notwithstanding the fact that he was even a male in this instance. And I remember the first meeting, and I'm saying, what did I do? And he said, Miriam, just your attitude. We've been watching you with interest. We've just been seeing the bubbliness, and there is a need to guard against that, because the intelligence is evident, but it's important that we can just make sure we put you together, to where we're thinking you are actually going. That's hardly a year. Within 2 years, I was already promoted to a position. But not only was I promoted to the next position, I had already been enrolled into the leadership program, and the road plan, the roadmap was very clear. I don't know how many times I've been nominated to go overseas, not because I've applied, but just because someone is seeing something and the roadmap was very clear from where they were taking me. That's the Transnet that I'm talking about, where mentorship was not being apologetic. I mean, 6 positions that I've gone to, I had not applied for, but I would get a phone call to say, we're now moving you, purely because from the mentorship point of view, succession plan point of view, all those things. So they were not apologetic. It had nothing to do with favoritism. It had nothing to do with nepotism. It had everything to do with talent.
If you're the right person, we'll put you there.
That's it.
But I want you to reflect on something. This might be harder for you to answer because of the humility that you will have. There are things that you are doing right.
Yeah.
What are those? Because it's one thing to be successful and to be growing.
Yeah.
But no one can learn from watching you grow, but they will learn from what you are doing to grow that fast.
Okay. And you're speaking from the corporate perspective in this instance.
Yeah, when you were getting this series of
certainly.
when they were saying you are the right person for us to focus on.
Truth be told, I think the attitude more than anything else.
Mm.
I think in the midst of my loudness, in the midst of having to realize that I am good in what I do, and the attitude has always been aligned. The level of respect to my elders and those that were in higher position than myself, and therefore the attitude that did also enable me to have an ear to then be told no and yes, and be able to be accommodative of that.
So you think that was the biggest
I think that was the biggest contributor. You walk in a room, the way in which, I mean, until 20 years, none of my bosses, I could call them by name. I used to call them bosses. It was so fundamentally difficult for me. I remember when I ultimately got to be appointed in an ESCO, and these are my former bosses, and now they are my colleagues. And so many other times they'll say, Mirriam, we're no longer your boss, we're your colleagues.
They had to keep reminding you.
You know, it's it. I'll say, put Leo, put Toba. There was never a time where I will call them by their first name, till this day, as a matter of fact. I mean, I see with my customers as well, it's very difficult to call people by their first names. So I think, and in hindsight,
So
now,
you were just generally a
realizing-
respectful person.
I think so. But more than anything else, oh my God, I'm a hard worker of note. And can I just be frank? I'm a hard worker of note. I'm passionate about what I do, be it's something that is new or not. I just think there's value in just paying attention. I think there's value in precision. I think there's just value in excellence and order. So I suspect as well, one of the attributing factors of how I grew in an entity is the value add that I was putting. Everything else that I've touched, it did tend to something, and not just systems, paper, but human beings as well. I still feel I've those that I've led, I've continued to leave a footprint that even today, now that I have my entity, these are the people, when I make a phone call and say, I need help, can you be a freelancer? I'm yet to receive a no. And the response has constantly been, when, how? And I'm wanting to think it's just attributed in the way in which I saw them, in the way in which I managed them, and in the way in which I had led. And therefore, and I did not know at the time. And maybe these are moments that you then tend to reflect and say, whoa, so Lord, this is where you're taking me. I did not know. But I think
all you were doing was just following principles.
That's it. Just treat people as human beings. And this is what I'm doing in my company right now. I do exactly that in which I had wanted to be done to me. And that in which was actually done positively and otherwise. Don't get me wrong. Corporate is toxic, get whatever. You filter. You take what is good, you discard what is not. So everything that was good, it's everything that I'm doing right now. Because I know how I had wanted to be led. I know what made me to feel good, how I had been led, and therefore I cannot now that I've got an entity, I'm confused in as far as those principles are concerned with, njani manje, you know? So yeah, it's just coming full circle.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So when you were making the jump from corporate
Yeah.
to business,
Yeah.
what were your biggest fears?
Sure. It's not even a question of biggest fears. It's
Yeah.
how I even landed there. You know, it was not a smooth sailing.
Because
you know?
you said you felt it was time.
No, let's get it right. 3 years prior to my departure, the voice was very clear. God was very clear to say, it's time. Leave this place.
Yeah.
You've ran your race. But Ntando, let's be frank. I'm top 100 of Transnet. I'm earning 2.6 million.
Yo.
That translates to 130,000 after tax.
Okay.
So you relate that to everything else. That's an equivalent of the house that I'm owing. That's equivalent of the car that I'm owing. That's equivalent of my kids' school when they're attending.
You were
and all
good.
of that. Exactly my point. So when you now hear the voice to say it's time, you're like, Kokonjani. And at the time, my ex-husband is unemployed, of course. So I'm a breadwinner in the house. So there's a lot of confusion. I procrastinated for 3 years. I questioned so much. I was a bit confused with, then what? What am I supposed to do? You know, I'm fortunately, I think you alluded to the level of humbleness. Thank God I was not living beyond my
Your means.
you know, my means. But it still did not take away the comfort. It still did not take away the fact that I'm in the suburbs. I'm in all of these. So there was a lot of confusion in the 3 years. And you know how the devil works, and he will sometimes package this thing like it's God. Because in that period when the voice said go, I was immediately moved from one division to head office. So at the time I thought, oh,
Promotion.
maybe this is what it means, that I'm done here and I need to move here. Kanti no, uthi ngithi phuma, you know.
Out.
Then COVID happened, and I remember getting a phone call from my former division, and they say, you better come back, Miriam. We are in the crisis. There's no better person that could handle this thing, because amongst other function was business continuity that I was heading, and therefore crisis management. And
Wait.
I headed back.
COVID happened after you had left.
No, I was still there.
Or they were calling you to,
Yes, they were calling me to
firefight
say,
within.
listen, come back home. And I'm at head office, I'm being seconded, and the division, the main division where I'm appointed, I'm being paid for, is saying, you better come back. We need you. We need your leadership. There's no other person that can do this thing. So again, you jump in thinking there's a need, and you forget about the voice, because, you know, devil just always translate this thing to be making sense. I mean, there's a need. They need me. It means I'm still good in what I do. Kanjani, how am I getting out of this thing? And I went back. And I managed the crisis gracefully, and otherwise I managed the crisis. But boy, he was not done with me.
You walked away from 2 million.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And when I walked away, it was not by my choice anymore. He threw me, God just threw cold water on my face, because he was done with me. I still remember when my former CEO calling me day before he was going to announce the structure, and I was an ESCO member, and he called me. He says, I need to deal with your anxieties. And upon him unfolding the structure, I didn't realize I'm not on the structure. By the way, at the time, I had 600 employees that used to report to me. I had 15 portfolios that I was overseeing. So I was the biggest support function in the division at the time. My budget was even bigger than some of the operational businesses within. That's how, you know, influential on how
much money you had control,
you know,
over.
Exactly. Actually, over half $500 million.
Sure.
That my budget that was allocated to, and
that's what you're signing powers
yes,
over.
And now you can equivalent with the millions. Then you see, you can't downplay it because it was an equivalent. But needless to say, so he shows me the structure. I'm not on the structure, and suddenly there's a new position in which he has created, that of a COO, and he says there's no other better person that I think deserves this position other than yourself. And confusion creeps in again. I'm from support, for goodness sake. I'm environmentalist. I'm a safety person. Ngena pigo operations. Ngena pigo.
This is new territory.
The building of trains and tonnages. Kanjani. But again, that's how the devil works. So he camouflages this thing, and you get so confused. But along the way towards, you know, the changes, there was just this needling feeling to say, no, man, something is just not adding up. And I remember on the day of the interview in Dando, literally as I stood by the door and I'm entering the interview, the voice of the Lord says, it's not your position. Literally, as I'm standing by the door, I walked into that interview. Don't ask me what I said from the start to the beginning. Because I literally went out and I called my brother and said, I did not get the position. And he was so confused to say, what do you mean? You just went on an interview and said, I did not get the position. And that's then when I then had called my partners at the time and said, I need to open a business. I still remember it was December 2020 when I had called them. And I had a concept framework, and we started putting this thing together. I left my brother's offices on the 22nd of December, 2020. 26, I lost my mother. The whole world turned upside down. I got into this bubble. I lost a sense of living. Nothing made sense anymore. On the 18th of January, I was told I did not get the position. Not only did I not get the position, I did not have a position. 19 years at the time. You need to understand and comprehend. I am 19 years in the entity where I get told, did not get a position. Not only did not get a position, we do not have a position.
We don't have space for you.
Then you know, somebody else is in charge. But the human in me, I'm like, go, uthini lo? This is the same man that called me and showed me the structure and said, this is your position. You can't now come back and whatever. And I remember it was on a Thursday and I said, listen here, me and you, we need a one-on-one. You can't be telling me this online. Let's meet. And indeed, he scheduled the meeting for Monday. And Sunday, I'm cooking. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, the questions I'm going to be asking this man. Because from my end, I'm seeking answers. I was promised this thing and all of that. And I'm deserving of this thing. That's me now, justifying this thing. And the Lord's voice was very clear. And then I remember it was very loud and say, what are you doing?
While you're cooking?
While I'm cooking, Sunday meal, I'm cooking. And it says, what are you doing? I said, no, tomorrow I'm going, I need answers. And the Lord says, what answers? Did I not tell you 2 years ago that pack up and go? Did I not tell you it's time? So what are you confused about? Yeah, but Lord, 2.6 million, but Lord, abantwana, wait. Do you mean to tell me the same money that I've blessed you with, the very same kids that I've blessed you with? So I'm going to embarrass you so much of the very same things that I've actually given. Miriam, I'm a provider of all things, I feed the birds. Who do you think you are? I am cooking, Dando. I'm literally berserk. I'm like, this is not happening. So I'm saying to the Lord, okay, fine. Then should I cancel the meeting? He says, no, you're going tomorrow. You're going and you're going and say thank you to this man for being my vessel. And trust me, I woke up the following day, I got into the car. I was crying from the time I got out of my garage until I got to the office. It was raining cats and dogs. I was even so mad that it's even raining. I could be in an accident. And I just got told I don't have umsebenzi after 19 years. Lord, really, am I supposed to be here?
Now you're here to thank the man for firing you.
Me, Dando, when I walked through those doors and I went to the reception, it was during COVID. I went to the reception. I asked where the boss is. And I was told there's an ESCO meeting. Let me be clear. I've been in ESCO since 2001 in Transnet. From my first appointment, I was already an ESCO member. This was the first ESCO meeting that I did not know about. Not because I was on leave, not because I was on study leave, not because I was whatever. I had conflicting meetings. I was not invited for and I did not know about. That's how now when God now wants to show you exactly.
You no longer belong here.
You no longer belongs here. And I remember I climbed those days. I sat like a visitor that day until it was 5 to 9. I went upstairs. I went to the meeting. And, I had just lost my mother just less than a month ago. So, small
Did they know?
No,
they knew.
They knew. I mean, I got condolences. Even on that meeting, the first thing he said, Miriam, again, let me say condolences and whatever. I'm sorry. How are you doing? Small talks and whatever. And as he was about to speak, I then said, no, can I speak? And he was so confused.
Because I imagine being him. He also had the conversation running and the strategies.
Not only running.
Say this and
he already knows this woman speak. This woman talks. I mean, I even remember the day before the Lord says to me, when you are called to gift and the very same mouth that I told you is double sorted because you're going to speak, you're going to say 1, he's going to say 2, you're going to say 3, he's going to say 4, and you're going to start hearing things that I did not want you to hear. And I said to the gentleman, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for entrusting me with the opportunity and all of that. Seeing that me and you will report to the same bosses up there, I'm going to ask you that you go back to our bosses and ask them, what do they have for me? And I suppose at the time, I'm almost saying handshake, whatever the case may be, because if you're not going to have a position for me, I mean, let's speak then.
An exit package.
Let's an exit package and all of that. And the man was so confused. Because I'm imagining like me, he had planned, he was already anticipating, Miriam, uzoti one, and I had no interest. And he's trying to explain himself. Miriam, again, let me just want to, this was not malicious.
You
and
are
I'm
good.
like,
You are.
I don't want to repeat the mistake of the previous leadership. And I'm like, whoa, let's not go there. Don't listen. I got you. It's time. Elintando, I was in the system for 9 months thereafter. No boss, nothing. I was reporting to no one. Actually, their reality hit me 1 week. I got sick. Maybe it was COVID. I don't know. I had no one to call in sick. Because for 9 months,
They were still
floating.
Working on your exit.
I don't even think so. Why would you make Miriam a priority? Hey, because Transnet is big, it's got so many issues to be looking after, tonnages to be achieved, and all of those.
Your salary was still coming.
No, I was earning a salary for 12 months. Fortunately, I had a project, a national project, which I was running at the time. And I did it with such grace. And mind you, at the time, my business got registered on the 21st of April, 2021, at the time. And naturally, the reason I had opened a business, I'm thinking, okay, let me start working so that Mang Pumalana,
the exit is smooth.
Until the voice came again and said, Wenzan? And I'm like, yeah, but Angiti, I'm balancing this thing. But I'm not your plan B when I'm on.
It has to be plan A. You have to be all in.
Leave. So I'm unable to do anything now because the Lord is saying, whose time are you going to be stealing? Whose resources are you going to be stealing? And for as long as you're under their authority, you shall oblige.
So leave.
And every time I would want to resign and I'm ready, there was this young guy. Oh my God, bless him. This HR guy, executive at the time. And I remember he phoned me and saying, Miriam, I've seen many people leave. I facilitated so many departures, but I refuse for you to leave empty-handed. I say, I refuse. If your resignation lands, I'll be the first one to tear it down. I might not have the powers, but you are the last person that's going to leave this entity without anything, with everything that you've done. And during that process, then voluntary package program came in. We call it VSP.
Yeah.
I probably was the first person to apply. And I remember he called me, the same guy, he said, okay, you've applied, your name is in. And officer was approved.
Now you can leave.
Exactly. Now you can leave because you're going to be paid and all of those things. And that was my journey, a corporate. So my departure. So when you are saying, what is your fear? I could not even comprehend where I am heading, given where I'm coming from. Given the anxieties of where I'm coming from.
You had a lot going on.
I have a lot going on. Notwithstanding how much I was earning and all of those things, but the way in which I'm living this entity. The 20 years, 1 month, I did not have farewell, Mina, at Transnet. And for months thereafter, it bothered me to say, hey, guys, was I not...
After all the contribution.
All the contribution and all of those things, only to find good, I'm a service provider now in Transnet. So now in hindsight, it's like, but I was not done with you. I was done with you as an employee. But I was elevating you to something else. I'm a supplier now, confident one, and the organization is excited with my energy, it's excited with the quality of work that I'm bringing. There's no confusion on who am I, what am I capable of. It's not about ticking a boxes, but it's knowing whom they are actually having on board.
Wow.
So yeah,
you are powerful.
No man.
Have you ever had regrets? Like when you left and you started the business? Because the reality for many people is you leave this 2 million a year, 2.6 million actually, that's almost 3 million a year.
Yeah.
You leave it, you start business, and when you face the market, the market can punch back.
Yeah. Which was a different position for me. That's why sometimes when I look at him saying it's time, the path was already clear. I did not know he has gone before me because, quite frankly, Ntando, my lending in the business, it can only be favor, man. It can only be favor.
It wasn't hard.
It wasn't hard, and bless my brother as well. whom I think was a cushion to that effect, because as I had left our space in his offices, it then had meant me as a new business. I had no electricity to pay. I had no printing paper to pay. I had no Wi-Fi to pay. I had none of those things. Everything was there. The offices, access to anything. I remember when I started having my prospective clients coming to that office, you get judged by those doors from the moment they get open, and how serious they then took me for what is that I was bringing on the table. Him being the voice as well, in having to see how he was running his own business, the dreamer of note. My brother is Joseph, and he's a dreamer of note. And on how
So you had support.
I had support, the way you was seeing money, the way you was seeing, numbers. It's so easy as a young business, and you're saying, oh no, I just want to get to the door, and which is something that I think I'm suffering right now. But there are also those brave decisions that I made because of seeing how he was making his decision and how he was navigating it. So that was one plus, from the fact that I did not have an initial capital that I needed to put in.
Okay.
Everything was there. That's the first thing. Secondly, again, I want to now reflect back to the attitude. I want to reflect on being the hard worker. Little did I know that in the 20 years plus 25, obviously before I got to Transnet, that everyone on my phone will be the very same clients that I have at this point in time. And the fact that I was able to open that phone and reach out, and they were still able to say, come, let's talk.
Also, because they know your energy, they know your work ethic. When you say, I've started my own thing, everyone wants to work with you.
I don't want to lie to you. And maybe the issue of attitude, we don't say it so much, because I still believe some of the favors that I have right now, and I did not know at the time, it was just the level of how I just treated a human being. It's been so amazing to be calling someone. They say, oh, Miriam, it's you. And I'm like, oh my God, they still remember me. Or to meet someone at the airport. I mean, I met a gentleman a month ago at the airport whom I've not seen for 10 years. And he said to me, Miriam, 2 weeks ago, I was thinking about you. Oh my God, I was wondering whatever happened to that bubbly person and all of. So in hindsight, now you realize literally 90% of my clients, I found them on my phone. I remember doing a flyer, a year later, doing a flyer and sending it to people. Within 48 hours, I had my first client. Within a week, I had my second client. On a flyer, not a business profile, just on the flyer, in having to outline, this is who I am, this is what I do, and these are the key activities. Just like that. Wow. Not even just sending and introducing me, them calling me back to say, Miriam, do you think you can do this? Yes. Okay, give me a quotation. I don't even know how to do a quotation. I don't even know what they're talking about. I don't even know what could be the price. Like nothing. Literally, I kid you not. 90% of my client was from.
How did you get past those challenges? A client coming and saying, do this job for me. How much are you going to charge me? And you don't know what to charge.
Listen, my first job was 46,000 for 6 weeks. And may I remind you of 130,000 a month after tax. That was my first task. 6 weeks. I did it on time. I did it with precision. I did it with the excellence way. On the day in which I presented, it was so much male dominant and white dominant. And the day when I presented the outputs, I got an email a day after from the CEO of that entity. And it said to me, I don't know who you are and I don't know where you're going, but girl, there's a bright future for you. This is an old white male. You can tell that he's been in the system for so long. And he's this man was basically saying, I've never moved from the time you started speaking. And never in the longest time have I enjoyed someone delivering a project the way you delivered it. That's the 46,000.
46,000 for 6 weeks. This is less than half of what you were earning.
Listen, that's after a year, by the way, I had left. Not even immediately after. After a year, I have left. So you can imagine every cent, how it actually mattered at that point in time. And the second one was a health risk assessment, which I needed to undertake at some entity. And a former subordinate of mine who said, wow, finally. And it was amazing on how the majority of the people having to then realize I'm out, they were like, finally. And I keep on being confused. I said, but where's this finally came in? And these are the people that I said, but you did not belong there anymore. You've outrun your race.
Because in your head, you're saying, why were you not saying it then?
Did you get what I'm trying to say? So it started there. Then it grew.
How did you deal, Sis Miriam, with the delay? Because you're saying the 46K came months. So there was months of waiting.
That's it.
Because this is living after hearing a voice. Now you're convinced that the Lord wants me to do this.
Yeah.
But it seems it's not working that
discipline
way.
I think discipline from inception. And I don't want to sound like I had all the answers. So the first thing that happened is, given the VSP, you were given if you were 10 years plus, you were given a 1 year salary.
Yeah.
You know, that's
helps.
significant, which helps. And I had leave paid, leave days paid, which was significant, pension funds and all of those things. Pension fund, I put it back into the system. But on the 1 year salary that I was given, I then gave it to Liberty. And I said to them, divide this by 2. I want you to stretch it. I want you to give me 50% of what I used to earn. And in hindsight, now I'm realizing, had I just gotten used to the 130, I would be in trouble. So I still then had the half of my salary coming in for that year in which I was not having revenue or processing any invoice or executing anything else.
That was smart. So you downgraded like immediately.
I did. And I think, again, my lifestyle, as I've alluded to, enabled me to do that, because I had a house that was paid, I had the car that was paid off, you know, so I've never been the one that lives beyond. So I think that brought about a balance. Was I nervous? Oh, fundamentally, I was nervous. You know, I suppose element of being a breadwinner as well, which actually brings you did allude to the effect of the divorce. I think, you know, when my therapist assessed me to say, Miriam, you took a decision on the 1st of November 2021 of walking away, and I did not realize that's like 3 years prior to me finally making it. And when I look back to that day, that is the day I woke up and I was sitting on my bed and I was so consumed with fear, and my partner at the time was sleeping peacefully. Peacefully. I mean, it's not, it was not his frogs. It was not his problem. He's never been in that position. And I've learned to forgive and all of those things. But it would seem like on that day, that is the day that a switch flipped and I said, I can't do this anymore. Because I wanted to sleep in Tando like any other person, but I couldn't.
How do you reflect on that? Because I'll ask in 2 ways.
Yes.
Getting divorced feels like failure. And with the relationship that you had with the Lord, how do you process that?
Sure, that's very interesting. So when it finally hit me on where I'm heading, and the good news is the very same Lord whom you go to and say, Joe, Manje, what is this? You know, you judge yourself, you know what the Bible is saying. And I went back. And prior to the divorce, I had already started seeing so many other losses. It's friendship, it's people that are close to me. There was just this element of losses. And when the divorce notion now added to that, it even brought so much confusion. And I remember the Lord was very simple. He says, my child, where I'm taking you, this weight is too much for you. Let go.
And you did.
Let go.
Do you think it's harder for powerful women with strong careers to maintain marriage? Because this is not new.
I don't think so. And nor would I even want to respond on the basis of how my marriage was. My marriage was beautiful. You know, I married
Not
my
generalizing.
yeah, general. I don't think so. I think yes, we strong headed. Yes, we know what you want. But women love. When we love, we love. Maybe that's why we even love blindly in this instance. You know, and that's why it takes us so long to even make a decision. It's just about having a partner where you are equally yoked. So you're having to finish your
Yeah.
previous question to say, what do you think happened? In hindsight, I was not equally yoked with my husband. You know, when we got married, I was not even, I did not even know God when we were together and all of that, and therefore I needed to give myself grace and forgive myself that I did not even know that. So the power of a woman who knows who she is and where she's going, it means the choices that you are very clear about, irrespective of the circumstances. That's what not make it to be hard. I think the hardness of it is the response from there. But from our end, it's not hard. When you make a choice to say, this is the man that I'm going to be with, irrespective of the circumstance, that's the decision you have. I mean, my brother is a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
And I was married to a man who was not working. But if you would seen how my brother was respecting my husband, I would want to take credit of it that it was my reflection in the way in which I was treating my husband that then made them to toe the line to say, this is how we're going to treat him in this instance. My mother loved my husband to bits purely because of the love in which she was seeing from me to my husband. And therefore, my kids until this day, I don't even think they knew the difference between ubaba kasebenzi umama uyosebenzayo by virtue of the way in which I had managed this whole thing. So honestly speaking, I think it's the response to a woman that I think it's an issue than a woman's choices per se.
Oh, yeah, you stole the words right out of my mouth. Because you tell a beautiful story. For me, it's like it should have worked.
Yeah. And it was working, Dando. But unfortunately, I think other than being equally yoked, I outgrown my husband, financially, mentally, psychologically, and otherwise, spiritually, and otherwise. I think that is the biggest challenge. Because it's one thing to be having someone who's not, it's another when he's studying, he's there, and therefore it does not matter where you go together in all of those things. So it was not even about finances, it was just a way of life. I mean, I remember one of the issues I had at some stage, because Sibuyeka see and I'm grateful for that. It is who I am, but the vulgar that was coming from him and on Facebook, and he will just Tugane. And I remember sitting him down and say, "Oh, dude, do you know who you married to?" You know what I'm saying? You can't do this thing. You can't.
A conversation that will go well.
What I'm trying to say. But it was going well because in the way in which I was bringing across these matters.
Or your approach was good.
Yes, my approach has always been. That's why I still believe and I still understand when my husband still says, "No, I'm still confused why my wife walked away." I believe him, because there was never a moment where you'll find me screaming and shouting and all of that. For me, it was a moment I'll speak, then I'll walk away, because for me there was clarity in my head to say "Ngikhuluma nomuntu omdala," and therefore I'll speak and walk away. But in hindsight right now, my therapist was saying, no, you were not speaking and walking away, you were speaking and sleeping. And he knew your patterns, that I was khuluma khulume, then uzolala food. And sleeping had meant I'd just get preoccupied with life again.
Because because he's not here.
Yeah.
I don't want him to catch strays.
Yeah.
I would ask you, if he were here, what do you think he would have been unhappy with?
I think exactly that, the confusion of what happened, the confusion on when did it happen, and it's exactly that. Uguti, it's either he did not see me, or it's either he was too confident in our marriage to say, "Hey, we've been knowing each other since we were 16. I think he was just confident. I think he was just content. I think he was just doing life. And I think that's where the challenge is. And so hence, I still understand him when he says, "No, I still don't know what happened." I don't blame him, because I don't remember screaming and shouting on top of Table Mountain. There was never. I've always been, don't confuse my loudness with just screaming and all of those things.
Yeah, because you dominate even this mic.
Sorry, man. But I've always brought across things that I was not happy about. Even a year before, I gave in an ultimatum, dude, 1, 2, 3, 4, failing which this is what it translates to. And unfortunately.
Let's close with this. Your encouragement to believers who want to get into business.
Yeah. Listen, I think I am surviving because I do what I'm loving. I'm doing something that I love. I'm doing something that you'll wake me up in the morning and you ask me anything, I'll give a response with my eyes closed. And I think that's it's keeping me going. But the positive around that, it also then means when I define excellence, I'm not defining it from theory, but I'm defining it from that in which I know what to do. So even those whom I bring in my business, I would often tell my team, God, I'm not being arrogant. There is nothing that you are doing that I cannot do it myself. And therefore, so it enables me to measure and be able to say, this is the quality that I want or not. Be it it's a freelancer, it's a training facilitator, and maybe it's because I'm in the space that I'm comfortable in. I'm in the space that I've gone to school for. I'm in the space in which I've done for so many years. So I think the sustenance of my entity, it's emanating from that.
You are the standard of excellence in your organization.
In all respect.
Standard of work ethic.
And don't get me wrong, there's a flip side in it, because the perfectionist then in me and the standard means things get delayed. It means I overthink things. It means, and I want to touch everything. It's only recently that I'm beginning to let go. I mean, I'm from a holiday for the whole week last week, and I did not care. And the business is still standing. My team is still there. It's not on fire, So I'm learning in the process to say, oh, I can let go, But what the positive as well in being the standard, it basically means where there are gaps, I'm able to tap in.
You know what to fix, what to do.
Like lettering, I fit like a glove. If a facilitator would not show up and I'm there, I'm able to walk into the class and teach with no fear of favor and walk out and say, we've achieved today's lessons.
Thank you for the masterclass.
Amen.
This was beautiful.
Thank you, Tando Man.
It was beautiful.
Sure. Okay.
Oh, yes. Leadership is emotional.
I did this again.
Thank you.
I'm going to fight with my team again. They're doing these things recently. I don't know what's happening.
Thank you for joining us till this time. See you in the next episode. I am curious to hear what you learned. Let me know what you learned and picked up in this interview. But thank you.
Thank you, Tando. Even though I did not speak about my business, but it's cool. Bless you, man.
I will put links to the group
website
in the description of the video, so you go check out what they do. You are supposed to introduce it.